Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to approach creating a lettermark. A lettermark is one of many types of logos that you can create. The words are jumping spider, and to create a lettermark for jumping spider, what you would do is you would take the J in jumping and the S in spider, and you would create a mark, a logo, out of those two letters. So here's an example of what I've done, although I looked at it now and realized that the J and S are kind of backwards, so it might be a little bit hard to read that, although it does work as a lettermark. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to demonstrate how to do this, but I think I'm going to try to see if I can make it work the other way around and what I get. There's two ways that I've done this. One of them is by utilizing what's known as the Pathfinder Panel, and then the other one here is the Shape Builder tool. And I'm going to bring this out by, just so that you understand what I'm doing. Each one of these little icons either does or does not have a little corner triangle. When you see a quarter triangle on any one of these little icons, that means basically there's another tool nested in with this tool. And you have the ability to click, hold, and move your cursor over to what's called the tear off on the right hand side. It's like a little tab. And if you sit on that tab and let go, it actually brings the tool bed out, and you can move them over here. So the tools that I'm going to be focusing on are going to be these tools down here and this tool right here. So let's take a look and see how I can create a lettermark like this. I'm going to start off by getting the type tool, and I'm just going to simply click, and it automatically places some text there. So it's also selected. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key and hit the J key, and that will create the letter J. So I'm going to get the type tool again and do the same thing again, where I'm going to click and place a little bit of text, hold down the Shift key and hit S. So now I have two letters. Now what I want to do with these is I want to format them just a little bit. So I'm going to start off by going to my character panel. Across the top here, whenever you have objects selected, you get this nice little tab, or actually this little ribbon. And in the ribbon, the character and paragraph and different things that you can do with these, with whatever is selected, becomes available to you. So I'm going to choose the character panel, and obviously it's going to sit right in front of it, which is just normal. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose 72 point just to get this thing somewhat big. And right now I got Myriad Pro selected, and just so that you understand, this is not really a design. This is not really for design. This is more or less something that I'm doing just to show you how to create a lettermark. So this isn't going to be beautifully designed. It's just basically a demonstration of some of the things that you could do, because there's many things that you could do. So we're going to go Myriad Pro, and instead of regular, I'm going to bring it and make it bold. So now I have my type set, and if you take a look, there's my type, J and S, okay? And actually, it's almost where I want it. I want this thing to be, here's your two letters so that you understand what's going on. And what's important to know about this is that each one of these letters currently are in a form known as live text. If you take a look underneath the letter, and it's on both, take a look underneath the letter, there's a little square here, a little anchor point, and then there's like this little line that runs off the anchor point, and there's no anchor point on that side. And that's deliberately so that I can come in here and I can set up text, J-S-A-M, see? So I can actually continue placing text in there if I want. I'm going to go Edit Undo, because I only want the JS. So you first have to understand that there's this live text. You can't do an awful lot creatively with live text because live text is sort of protected. Believe it or not, text really is just fancy basic shapes. They really are. They're very basic shapes. If I were to come over here and if I were to set a rectangle over here, okay, in the end, what do you got? You got 4 anchor points and you got line segments. Well, guess what? The moment I turn this text into basic shapes, you're going to have a series of anchor points and line segments, which is nothing more than this, only perhaps a little fancier. So how do I do this? I'm going to select both the J and the A by doing what is known as a marquee, and that is basically a drag and a catch of both of the text. Now to marquee something, all you really have to do is touch the two together and they will select. Once I got those two selected, I'm going to turn them into outline form. To do this, I'm going to go up to the Type menu, and I'm going to go down to where it says Create Outlines. So it's Type, Create Outlines. When I let go, right now you can see what's happening is I get my little anchor points and my line segment just like I get with my, see? Just like I get with my basic shape. Now you notice that that little anchor point and line is gone. That means essentially I am no longer able to take this text and change it to another letter. I'm basically sort of locked in with these shapes, and now I can start working with these shapes creatively, all right? So I don't need this thing anymore. So what do I want to do with these shapes? Well, I think the first thing I want to do is I want to go to the Align panel, and maybe what I'd like to do is I'd like to see what happens when I align them to the bottom of each other. So let's see if I can find that. Where's my bottom? There it is. Okay, so now I've got those things aligned at the bottom. What I want to do is I want to see whether I can create some sort of a ligature out of this. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that just now. So I'm going to start by using my right arrow to move my J over until it comes in contact with the S. Okay, so you see now it's come in contact with the S. So what I think I'd like to do with this, maybe bring it up some, because it's jumping spider. Let's bring it up to about there, and let's bring it in until it, oh, you know what, actually there might be a good idea. Let me bring it in until it's just sitting right on top of that. Again, I have no idea whether this is going to look right or not. All I'm doing now is I'm playing a little bit with this. I'm going to zoom in on this so I get a better look at what's going on. I want that to be just in contact with that S, and you know what, that's probably pretty good right there. Okay, so now what I want to do here is I want to turn this into a ligature and see what I come up with for a ligature. So let me do this. Let me zoom out just a bit. I zoomed in a little too far. Okay, that's probably perfect. All right, so in order to work with the Pathfinder and the shape builder tools, you really need to have more than one object selected, and you have to kind of know what you're going for. Like for instance, if I were to select both of those shapes, can you see where there's an overlap right there? It even shows you that there's an overlap. So what happens with this is, if I were to come over to my shape builder tool, and if I hit unite, I get this where the two pieces have been joined. So if I were to come over here and double click on this and change the color to red, because they're joined, come on you, there, they are both going to get that red. Let's go edit undo and edit undo. So I've undone the add. That's one type of a ligature, believe it or not. Now here's another type of ligature. This is called minus front. What I'm basically doing is I'm taking the objects and I'm using the shape builder tool to do things like, for instance, I just joined them together or united them. I'm going to try hitting the minus front just to see what that does. So what that does essentially is it knocks out everything. It throws everything that's sitting in front of the J away, and it cuts that hole into the J, which is kind of an interesting look, but it's not very complete. Now let's go edit undo, and let's see if I were to do something like this. Let's go edit copy. Okay, and now if I select both of these things, and if I go minus front, and if I go edit, paste in place, I can then do something like this, and I end up with something that looks sort of interesting. Although again, I'm not going for that, so I'm going to go edit, and I'm just showing you some stuff. This is just basically, you know, playtime. Edit, undo, 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 There we go, and edit, subtract. Okay, so now let's try this one. The next one is this, which is Intersect. Now, again, it tells you basically what it's going to do. If you take a look at this, the open areas are what are going to disappear, and the area of overlap is what's going to be left. So when I click that, I get something like that. Again, not very useful for this particular application. So let's go edit, undo that. The one that I think I'm looking for is this guy right here. And what this is going to do is it's going to exclude the area of overlap, which that means basically is I'm going to have this left, and right there is going to be removed, which is what I think I'm looking for in this particular case. Remember, this is not design I'm doing here. This is playtime. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. So I click on this, and there, now I have that. And now if I select these guys, and if I come over here and I apply a color to it, which seems to be giving me trouble to do today, there, you can see what happens, okay? Edit, undo, edit, undo. Okay, now, the other thing I have here is my Shape Builder tool. Now, if I want to play with my Shape Builder tool, I can come in here and select my Shape Builder tool, and I can choose shape areas, like this area right here. If I drag to that area right there, then what I've done is I've created, watch this. I'm going to click on this object. Whoops. Click on this object. Let's see if I can get it with this. There we go. Okay, you see what it's done? It's created that hole by ignoring the two areas of overlap. So it essentially did the same exact thing. I'm just trying to give you some ideas as to how to do this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select this guy right here. Whoop, I got the direct selection tool. I'm going to select this. Since this has been put together, these guys here, this is going to react to this because it was kind of like a leave behind. But watch what happens if I come in here and I turn this to red. See, that all gets red. Now all I really have to do is delete these guys right there. Edit, undo. I got to also do it with the direct selection tool. Sorry. There we go. Get this. So I can delete those. Oh, that's not the right one either. Once again, let me get the group selection tool because they are grouped. There we go. Okay, so now I get those two guys and delete them, and I've accomplished the same thing as I've accomplished with this. Okay, so edit, undo, clear, undo, undo, move, and undo, move. There we go. All right, now with this Shape Builder tool, I can also use the Option or Alt key, and I can come in here and I can click on that thing and I can remove it. So in other words, let me do that again, edit, undo, delete. What I'm doing basically is I'm using this tool right here, the Alt or Option key. I'm having the Alt or Option key, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to notice that there's a little plus sign. I'm holding the Alt or Option key down, and can you see that it gets that little negative sign right there? Right. So then when I click that, it makes that go away. Now, the thing is, you've got your shape, okay? And again, you can come in here and change the color on your shape. Right like that. If I can get it to do it, there we go. And there are just a few things that you can do to create this lettermark. Now remember, what we're doing here is we're creating a lettermark, something that we can use to create a logo for Jumping Spider, right? Let's go view, fit artboard and window for a final look. Actually, I have to zoom in on this thing. Right there is pretty good. Move these out of the way. Jumping Spider. All right, now again, there's so many different things that you can do here. This is just one of them. But the important thing for you to understand is that there are two different types. There is this type right here. I'm going to make a duplicate of it. All right, hold on, let me make a duplicate of it. There we go. And there's this type, which is live or active type, which means that I can go in and I can still change this type, make the word say something else. And then there's this type here, which is basic shape type. I'm going to go to the type menu, create outlines, and now you can see when I zoom in to compare the two, to get this over where you can see it a little bit better. There you have the two different types. This type, there's things you could do with. This type, you can do more creatively with, do more things creatively with. Okay, so go in and give it a try. It's not that difficult. And this is something that you will encounter when you're working with the assignments where you're creating lettermarks. Thank you for watching.